Hi, good morning. I'm Key Browning, and I want to talk to you today about meditation. And a lot of people are asking me about meditation now, which is wonderful because it's such a great skill and tool to have that can help you become more harmonious and more joyous and really help you to process the stress and the grief that we're under right now. I wanted to read you a couple of statistics about the benefits of meditation, because I think sometimes as Americans or Westerners, it just helps us to have these statistics. So then whenever we go to sit down and sit and do nothing, that notion of productivity or the lack of productivity goes away because you are benefiting yourself, but in a different way. The meditation has been shown to reduce chronic back pain in some patients by up to 30%. And wouldn't that be wonderful? Now, of course, if you do have chronic back pain, you might be lying down to meditate instead of sitting upright, but you don't want to lie down and go to sleep. So there are benefits to napping, but that's a little different. Regular meditation improves cognition and focus. And it also lowers the body's cortisol levels by up to 60%, cutting your stress by more than half. So it's pretty amazing, some of these simple statistics that are available. These are statistics that I picked up yesterday from August of 22, so just last year. So about 500 million people are meditating globally right now, which is pretty miraculous. And so when you go to sit and meditate, just know that for sure there is somebody else on the planet at that exact moment meditating with you. And isn't that a great thing to know? So if nothing else, you're certainly connected by your feet on the earth at the same time, but also just, your intention in the ether. So there's so many benefits to meditation. I think it has a tendency to make you feel like you're isolated and you're alone, which of course you are, but on a global level or on a spiritual level, you're very connected to at least 500 million people, if not more. About 14% of adults and 7% of children in the US have meditated recently, and meditation can improve anxiety by about 60%. So that's pretty significant. Just being in a quiet room alone and just focusing on your breath and relaxing can reduce anxiety for most people, well, about 60%. So meditation lowers your risk of coronary disease hospitalization by up to 87%. So that's very significant. And who wants to go to a hospital? Let's face it. Okay, so meditation cuts the awake time of insomniacs by half. So this is pretty substantial for those of you who have sleep disturbances. And meditation is practiced on a daily basis by 2 out of 3 Buddhists, although a lot of people of many other cultures and countries are meditating now. The Dalai Lama said you don't have to stop your religion to meditate. And I found that it really helped me to connect more with the Christ when I was meditating. So before it was just on Sundays, I go to church on Sunday, and then Sunday and Wednesday, like I did when I was in high school. And so I did that as a young adult too. But once I started meditating, it was like, oh, this is what they're talking about, a personal and daily relationship with Christ. Every single day, you can have that through meditation and prayer. Meditation has grown in popularity in recent years, and with users tripling since 2012, tripling. So that's fantastic. And meditation can reduce PTSD symptoms by up to 70% in sufferers. And I just wanted to clarify that we're not even using PTSD. We're not saying disorder anymore because so many people have trauma. So now it's just PTS. And so it's not considered a disorder. We all are going through a lot of grief and sorrow because of COVID and the aftermath with the shots and all the deaths with the blood clots. And I just want to invite you to be mindful of the distinction between depression and sorrow or grief. because clinical depression requires medication, and that is severe, and a lot of those people are suicidal. And so it's important to know that if you're suicidal or you're clinically depressed, sitting in a dark room alone would not be recommended for you. But if you're sorrowful or you have grief, then meditation can be very useful for that. So just there's a distinction there. And I know for us as Americans, we just have a common colloquialism that we just say, well, I feel depressed today. And we're kind of like, kind of down, down energy and down in the dumps a little bit. And it's like, you don't want to say depressed. And you don't want to say depressed to your doctor for sure, because once your doctor writes into your permanent medical chart that you have depression, that makes you high risk because psychiatric wards are so expensive. So that increases your insurance costs. So don't say depressed unless you are clinically depressed. And, if you're feeling sorrow or grief, that allows you to realize that depression would be a level 10 of feeling horrible, and sorrow and grief is less. It does feel horrible to have lost somebody, and we've all lost somebody, and something big in the last 2 years, 3 years. I mean, it's just, we're all going through a lot of grief right now. So I just invite you to be mindful of your language. This is the mindfulness that I was referring to before. And I think it is really important to be looking at that. How can you be more aware of how you are thinking? Your self-talk makes a big difference in how you feel. And if you're walking around through the day just remembering all of your failures, wow, I mean, no wonder you feel so bad. But there's really not a failure that's an isolated failure in and of itself. You might not have gotten what you wanted by the end result, but to get from A to B and the process that it took to get there, that was a success. And maybe the ultimate outcome of whatever it was, a performance or a composition, or even a proposal to a person that you'd like to marry, that it ended in failure. It's still a success on the path to that event. And then of course, just letting go of the final results is such a challenge for everybody. But there's so much more going on, right? That life is not just the end result of dying, it's the path by which we journey while we're here. So there are other things to talk about with these statistics, but I don't want to spend too much more time on that. But I know some of you are really into the economy, and so that you're interested, that might be a motivating factor for you. So again, mindfulness and meditation industry is worth about $1.7 billion in the United States. By 2027, the meditation industry is expected to be valued at $9 billion. Calm and Headspace apps make up about 70% of the meditation app market share. And I think that, just knowing that there's a group of people, 500 million or more, that are meditating. And then also that there's the economy around it. So this might legitimize it a little bit more for you, for those of you who are interested in that. I think that when people come to my meditation classes, that they're really looking for something else, like they're looking for joy, like I want to smile again. And meditation will do that for you. I had a lot of mystical, really wonderful spiritual experiences at the beginning of my meditation journey, which I guess I started when I was young, like 18, and then my dad was a regular meditator, so it's kind of following his lead a little bit there. But I was more off and on during that time, more off than on, but a little bit. And then in my 30s, I started meditating regularly. So I've been meditating for over 20 years now, and it's just really made such a huge difference in my life, which is why I want to teach it to you and give you the drive, the courage, the motivation to sit in a chair and do nothing for 5, 10 to 15 minutes. It's harmless. And you get into a controlled environment in your home, and you're in a quiet space where you can just relax and notice what you're thinking and how you're feeling without all the distractions of the world. It can really make a big difference and help you to sift through some of those resentments or some of the fear, or moments that we'd call failure or social awkwardness, like, oh my God, and the anxiety associated, gotta go to another party or another business meeting, and oh my God. Well, meditation can help to remove some of that habitual thinking. And I want to talk a little bit more about ways to stay present. Journaling can be really helpful. Journaling 5 to 10 minutes a day can be wonderful. It can make a really big difference in how you feel. And you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. You don't even have to have spaces between the words, because it's not for anyone to read. It's just for you to dump, like, bleh, just wake up in the morning and what's on your mind, get it out of there. And so if you could spend about 5 to 10 minutes or write about 3 to 5 pages, morning pages or afternoon pages, that you're just writing these out and getting these thoughts out of your brain and onto paper. And yeah, you could do it with audio recording if that is the only way that you'll do it. But there is something about pen and hand and paper that helps to cathartic a little bit more. And if you could do that first thing in the morning, or say right before you meditate, that's also a good time to do it, just to kind of get things out of the mind. That can be super. Physical activity is another great way to stay healthy and be mindful. A walk around the block is free. Maybe some of you don't even have the ability to walk very far, so just from your couch or your recliner to the driveway, or down the driveway and back up. So it could be just that little bit of activity. But if you can, walking around the block, yoga, of course, is something you could do in your home. Tai Chi, Qigong, these are some other types of activity. Even just, dancing in your house, for 2 or 3 songs can be really good, just to shift your endocrine system, improve your circulation, and of course, change what you're thinking in the moment, because you got to get that right move, So positive self-talk is super important. And if you can think about a mantra. So it could be something positive that you're saying to yourself through the day. Loving, lovable, kind, peaceful. You could just pick a word, I'm okay. It could be something like that. I'm doing great, wide awake, feeling great. Wide awake, feeling great. You just come up with a passage and affirm it all day long. Wide awake, feeling great. Even if you don't mean it, because the longer that you say that to yourself, the more you're like, oh, I do want to feel great. I want to feel great. So versus, I feel lousy, I'm depressed, I don't feel good. And it's like, of course, that's going to change the way you walk, and the shoulders coming forward, and you're just not as inspired, even if you don't feel very good. Wide awake, feeling great. At least, you might get your head back into alignment, you might be able to lift up and stand up straight. And that is something else with our physiology, that standing up straight with your shoulders back automatically allows you to take a deep breath, but it also puts you into a better headspace. And so if you're depressed and you're kind of hunkered over, just sit up straight. Don't hunker over, stand up straight, bring your shoulders back. Your mother always told you to do that, and your dad, stand up straight, son. So these are things that just physiologically, if you do those, you'll feel better. I love to talk about aromatherapy, and aromatherapy is so great. And there's several different oils that are good for just remaining calm and having more inner peace. And I would always recommend top quality oils. So not just something that you get at the drugstore, because that's whatever kind of oil with some fragrance. So not that. But you want to get top quality oils. doTERRA, Young Living, those are great qualities, and they've been around for a long time. And then at the health food store, Nature's Grocers and Sprouts and Central Market, they have lots to choose from there. So you want top quality oils, not just anything. And then the oils you want to use would be like lavender is really good. And you can even spritz lavender on your pillow at night and you'll smell it initially and then it'll go away, but you're smelling it all night long. Now, when I was managing fitness centers, one of the things I did fitness assessments on my clients, and I would take their pulse. That was part of the fitness assessment. And then I would let them whiff. We didn't put the oil on them at all, just top quality lavender, just a little whiff, smell this. And then we set that down. And then I took their pulse again, and almost always the pulse would come down about 8 to 10 beats per minute. This is substantial. So again, top quality oils, not just stuff they find at CVS or whatever. So lavender, frankincense, chamomile, and orange. So those are some good quality oils that you could try. And of course, if you put it on, you're going to have more benefit from it. You know, during the height of COVID, when it was just like, wow, all that fear and all the isolation, I was doing a drop of frankincense in my mouth at least once or twice a day. And so there's, you know, just getting that oil into the body, not a lot, a drop, one drop. If you take a bath with Epsom salts and baking soda, so like a cup of salt and a half cup of baking soda, then you can add in a drop or, you know, maybe 4 or 5 drops of oil into the bathtub. You don't need very much at all. So not more than 5, you know, 4. So a little bit goes a long way. So they are expensive, you know, it's a little bottle of oil and it's pricey, but it will last a long time. So keep that in mind. Okay, so of course, looking at beautiful images, having nice things in your house. Like I love having these statues in my house, even though I'm not a Buddhist. I love looking at them because they remind me to meditate. And I love looking at other things in my house. I have little, I would call them little altars in my house of a little picture of a Christ or a crystal or a cross or pictures of my grandparents. And these remind me of my roots, but they also give me courage to move on. And you want to have your house surrounded by things that motivate you. And if you are, you know, you have a lot of like dark pictures on your wall and, you know, you have violent scenes in your house, that doesn't feel good. Like your body isn't liking that. And you might go, oh, it's no big deal. It's been in the family for 30 years or 3 generations. It's like, yeah, don't look at that. You don't want to look at negativity. And we get so much of that from TV anyway. Talking to a loved one or a life coach can be very helpful. When you're talking to a loved one, you know, you have to be mindful that they're going to want to share their story and talk about themselves, or they might have a conflict of interest with your issue. And so sometimes talking to a loved one can get kind of tricky, but having a life coach that's an objective listener that can help you strategize, that can make a big difference in letting go of some of the resentments and the fear and discomfort or sorrow that you might be experiencing. And I'm a life coach. I'm a mind, body, spirit life coach. And I've been working with individuals for over 20 years. And I do a variety of different techniques to help people get well. And meditation is one of them. So I can teach meditation on Zoom or live. So if you're interested in that. I want to talk a little bit more about balancing the heart and the mind. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. So one of the things that the Heart Math Institute talks about is heart-mind harmony. And so in yoga, we'll frequently say namaste, Or when you're praying, you might have your hands at your heart, but be sure to touch your heart. So not out here. So this, yes, this is nice and it's namaste, but touch your heart. By touching your heart, you're automatically stimulating the heart-mind harmony. And even right now, you can do this with me. Just a little tap, a little touch on the heart will help you to slow down, and you can breathe a little deeper and just feel the heart, feel your heartbeat. And now the neuroscientists are proving that we have information or a neurological network in the heart as much as the brain, or even more. And the Heart Math Institute actually had a experiment where they had subjects looking at a computer monitor with random images. Some were beautiful puppies in a basket and sunsets and sunrises and holding hands, all that good stuff. And then they had grotesque images of an accident or a murder scene or some fight or altercation or something like that. And then they would randomly show these images. And so the person that was watching didn't know when it was going to happen. And they weren't so much measuring what happened when the person saw the image, because they knew when you see something grotesque, you're going to, do something, your body is going to have a reaction. And but what they found in the research is that the heart knew about 3 seconds before the image came. So the heart would change the variability of the heart rate, and it would shift 3 seconds before the grotesque image would arrive. So there is something quite mysterious about the heart, but it is good to know, follow your heart, because your heart does know. So sometimes, just through the day, or maybe, if you're driving and you're feeling anxious, just put your hand on your heart, just, okay, heart, mind, harmony. Okay, take a deep breath. I got to go in and talk to my boss. Okay, you take a couple of deep breaths. And of course, you could do this at your desk, or you could go into the bathroom stall and just, kind of calm down and relax a little bit before you go into a meeting. Having this awareness of heart, mind, harmony can make such a big difference in the way that you're interacting with the world, because we do feel so disjointed or disconnected. And this is an issue for us as we continue to move forward, because we're dealing with all this grief and all the sorrow and all the medical problems that we have now. And yet we still have to go to work, and we still have to carry on and chop wood and carry water, and we still have to carry on. And so, oh my God, just the stress of it all. And we see the chaos out there, and there is chaos, but is it chaotic or is it kinetic? So there's a distinction there. Is it chaos around you? And it may be, that there's total chaos in your life, or it might just be there's a lot of activity. It's not chaotic, it's kinetic. And that again is the reason why you need to pull back. Just like a professional athlete does in the middle of a game, the athlete will sit on the bench for a moment, pull back, watch the game, see what's going on. And then when the coach says it's time, then you jump back into the game and win, right? Have an experience and win the game. And so there's that. You and we need to back up, sit on the bench during the day of the game, your 24 hours, that you can sit for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes and, hand on heart at the beginning. It's nice to start that way. Oh, and take a deep breath, maybe even one on the stomach. Okay, just slow down so you get more diaphragmatic breathing and just slowing down. And you could feel that right now if you're doing it with me, just feeling your breath and relaxing a little bit. And just that little bit will automatically put you into heart-mind harmony. So I invite you to do this practice throughout the day. Just a little touch. People don't have to know what you're doing. You could be fiddling with your necklace and touch your heart. And that's all you need to do. It doesn't have to be a big production. Of course, if you're alone and you're meditating, it's nice to do it longer. But if you're out and about, you might not want to be quite as obvious. So these techniques, journaling every morning, exercise every day, reading some inspirational material, scripture or otherwise, these things can really make a difference in how you feel every day. And then, of course, sitting still, hand to heart, hand on the abdomen. And at some point, of course, your arms will get tired. So then you just lower them down to your lap and continue to sit and breathe for just another 5 minutes. It's really quite simple. And I'll be teaching more meditation techniques over the next few weeks. So I hope you'll continue to join me with that. I'm Key Browning. I'm a mind, body, spirit, life coach, and you can reach me at my website, which is my name, keybrowning.com. That's KIBROWNING, keybrowning.com. Namaste.